Now, with the new NIL era in college athletics, just like in every other area of life, spending money needs to be done in the smartest way possible, in the most efficient way possible. So if you have this big bag of money that you can spend in any NIL scenario, and I know different schools have a different amount, but if you have a lot, the smartest strategy is to get the proven commodity. Go to the transfer portal. You can turn the tape on and see how that player performs at the level that you're getting them at. When you look around the country, we see 1,200 players enter the transfer portal on the first day. So if I'm going to spend my money, if I'm going to go into the vault and get my treasure, I would much rather know what I am getting through the transfer portal than just spending it all on high school recruits. But the key, just like in other areas of life, is balance. How can you build culture if you don't develop players through the high school ranks? So the answer is, and it's actually pretty simple in my eyes, especially if you're a new coach taking over a new place, yes, you must embrace the transfer portal. Probably heavy early, but once you get the program going, you should only use the transfer portal to fix the holes in the boat, not build the whole ship out of the transfer portal. There needs to be a nice balance between developing high school players, using a decent amount of NIL money to be able to attain a high recruiting class in that form, and then also going out in the transfer portal and being able to spend money wisely on proven commodities. Just look at the NFL. Some GM strategies are to go out and sign more free agents than to rely on just draft picks. You have projections, and then you have proven commodities. That's the difference between free agency and the draft. It's a lot easier and safer to take a proven commodity than to try and project a player out of high school and how they'll do on the high collegiate level or the collegiate level going to the professional level. So when you have an NIL bag, regardless of how deep it is, spending it on a proven commodity is very smart. It's a winning strategy, but it can't be the only strategy. That's why football is the ultimate team sport. I bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane. Guys, we knew the portal was going to be hopping. We're in a brand new era. But when it comes down to building a team or maintaining a team, and it does depend on where you are. Are you Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State in your first year? Or Hugh Freeze this past year, where you do got to go be a little bit heavier in the transfer portal because you need results quick, and then you want to develop high school guys. Then you have some guys like Lane Kiffin, and I know Jackson Dart's coming back, that looks like they're going to try and replenish a lot of the roster through the transfer portal. Which strategy is smarter in your opinion?
Well, honestly, I feel bad for a lot of these coaches having to navigate all these changes that are happening so rapidly in college football. I really do. I think the NCAA has just turned on a faucet to let this thing go off the rails as badly as possible until Congress act. I just wish, we could get a sitting senator or something to come on our show so we could ask him questions about it. Oh, wait, that's going to happen today. So I'm excited about it. I mean, here's some numbers for you. 133 FBS teams. There's 85 scholarship available in those teams. So that's 11,305 spots. And we saw 1,200 kids, 1,183 specifically right now, enter the portal by 10 p.m. on the first day. I mean, that's almost 11% of college football. So yesterday I said, college football is a broken and an unserious sport. I mean, this is another aspect of that. I hate it. I hate it for a lot of these kids who just see the first opportunity to run away and quit. I hate it for a lot of these coaches who are having to navigate this landscape. It's unfortunate. I probably would have run away from Michigan and run back to South Georgia the first opportunity if I had to quit. I mean, even then it was like, okay, my coach can leave and go anywhere he wants and make money, but I can't transfer in a dire situation. That felt like exploitation. This right here, this has just gone off the rails to me. I mean, when you look at the number of quarterbacks that we're going to mention here, it's just kind of like they're just switching schools. They'll play for 4 or 5 different colleges in the span of 4 or 5 years. Like even in the NFL, we at least have contracts. We have to get to something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's unrestricted free agency, if we're going to be honest. I mean, there's a reason that you don't just sign a 1-year contract in the NFL and then everybody just goes back into the pot at the end of the year. It's madness and chaos. Blaine, the thing that I thought would be the easy guardrails to put on it, and they put no guardrails on it, just like with NIL, which I believe in. I believe players should get name, image, and likeness. I mean, if I'm going to get paid for my name, image, and likeness, I don't know, on a movie, then I can't sit here and complain. But what I don't understand is, and you have the one free transfer, the 1 year where you can transfer for free, whatever. I don't have a problem if you want to use that year to go from LSU to Utah. If you want to go from Boise State to TCU, right? I don't mind that. But when you're able to go from LSU to Alabama or transfer not only within a conference, and I know we're going away from divisions, but within a division, that's a problem to me outside of the head coach leaving. Whether he's fired, whether he takes another job, whether he goes to the NFL, takes another college job, it doesn't matter. There's no rules built in. But if you're building a team, let's say you're in year 3.
Oh, I love this.
And you're humming.
Online dynasty mode.
Online dynasty mode.
Okay.
How much are you relying with your NIL money? Right? Give me a percentage, 60-40, 70-30. How much are you relying on going to get players from the transfer portal to spend that money and then going to get players from high school spending that NIL money? Because you got to spend money in both.
It feels like a 70-30 to me. I'm going to be
Portal to
high school.
That makes sense.
You know, if it's me, I'm living in the portal to go get guys up front. All right, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to get depth up front on both sides of the ball. But look, you need your quarterback. At the end of the day, you can have all the skill players in the world. If you don't have anybody to get him the ball, you know, we see that with Florida State. You see what kind of happened in that result. But I look at it, obviously the transfer portal, it needs to be refined a little bit, touched a little bit. It needs to be hauled in. Obviously, it's a problem, but it doesn't need to be eliminated. I mean, right now, we're talking about it. I mean, when's the last time we realistically had 7 teams that are good enough to play for a national championship? I think the transfer portal has done a lot for parity in college football. It brought those lower class to the middle class.
It raised floors
up a little bit, right? We're seeing teams like Arizona and Missouri and all these guys kind of rise to the occasion. So the transfer portal, it's crazy. It's changing everything. But right now, the result is on the field is great.
Yeah, and we're going to open up the phone lines early today. We're going to open them up here literally in about 20 minutes. We're going to make sure we get some calls before we get Ted Cruz on here. But I do want to say I'm not advocating that you literally only sign a certain position from the transfer portal when you get where you need to be. I'm operating from a year 3. We're doing really well, got my culture built in, and we don't have to rely on just the transfer portal. I don't care if I need to go get a left tackle from the portal, I'll go get a left tackle. But I'm not going to sit here and say I want to build my whole offensive line or defensive line out of the transfer portal. I am going to plug the holes that whoever left from this year's roster, whether it be going to the NFL draft, whether it be transferring, whether it be, their eligibility's done. If it's a corner, I'm going to go get a corner. That's what we see the best teams do. They're not going out there and just getting 5 defensive linemen. The only people you see doing that are the new coaches that are trying to flip a roster because now you're expected to win with the transfer portal even sooner. That's what I kept saying about Deion Sanders, why every coach in the world, when Deion Sanders was humming early, when he flipped the whole team to the transfer portal, was kind of a little bit pissed off because now the expectation is, oh, you can turn it around in year 1. Regardless, just bring in a bunch of guys from the transfer portal, put them together, and you can be like Colorado and just start beating everybody. And then what happened? It kind of fell off a cliff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's not a winning strategy. But it was put out there and shown to athletic directors that if you go and build the whole team out of the transfer portal, it's a possibility for you to win, even though in reality, Colorado won 4 games, which was a nice feat for them. But I just strategically, to me, I think the best situation is you build the boat out of the high school talent that is developed and you plug the holes in it with guys from the transfer portal. That's what Alabama's done. That's what the top dogs have done. But some of these guys, David, as we kind of transition into, who's in the portal, Kyle McCord.
Yeah, I got a list right here, and I think back on Joe Burrow a lot because Joe Burrow is a 4-string quarterback in Columbus. He needs to find a school. He has the talent to play high-level college football. He goes to LSU, wins a Heisman Trophy, has an undefeated season, right? Like that's an incredible situation. Or what happened with Cam Newton? You get in trouble at a school, you go to JUCO, goes and plays for Auburn, wins a Heisman Trophy, goes undefeated. Even Sam Hartman, out of place for 4 years, ends up going to Notre Dame. Like those are all really great examples of being able to leave a situation and go play. And we see that in the NFL too, right? Like sometimes it doesn't work out with the team that drafted you and you move along. I think we're going to start to see things get a little out of hand here if we just have open season with the transfer portal writ large. But here's the names that I have right now. You mentioned a couple, and honestly, some more may have jumped in by the time we started our show today. But Kyle McCord, Riley Leonard, who's taking an official visit to Notre Dame this week, KJ Jefferson, Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Van Dyke, Will Rogers, Dante Moore, DJ Uiagalelei, Aiden Chillis, Brock Vandergrift, Tyler So, MJ Morris, Grayson McCall, Cam Ward. Max Johnson has officially recommitted now to North Carolina. So Max Johnson from Texas A&M, who had already transferred from LSU, is going to North Carolina. And then a really unusual one here, Tyler Buckner, who played quarterback at Notre Dame, transferred to Alabama, has now entered the lacrosse transfer portal, and he's going to play lacrosse now back for Notre Dame.
let me ask you a better question.
I couldn't write a Hollywood script.
Let me maybe ask you an easier question. Which quarterbacks are not in the transfer portal?
That you could almost make a list of Power 5 teams. It would be easier because if you add in the transfer portal with guys who have just lost eligibility, which I think you could play as long as you want now, but seniors who are leaving, the list would almost be shorter to name guys who aren't in the portal.
Who's the best quarterback you think on that list? Who
I've been trying to think
if you're
that.
drafting, who would you take number one?
Look, I think what Cam Ward proved that he could do this year at Washington State, just with his mobility and not only with his legs, but his ability to throw the ball through the air. Like, he's going to be a dynamic football player that a lot of guys are going to go after. I still really like Riley Leonard coming from Duke, and that's a situation where the head coach you're playing for left to go to Texas A&M, right? Like, I understand that situation. But the Kyle McCord one right now,
dude,
for me, like, I really don't know. I really don't know what's going on right now with the Buckeyes and with this situation. What did he throw? Over 3,000 yards, over 30 touchdowns, like stats that I would have done ungodly things to have when I was playing football. He loses one game as a starter by 3 points on the road to your arch rival team that's ranked number 3. To me, you're not leaving as the starting quarterback in Columbus unless the coaching staff has told you you don't have a future here.
One of two things. There's only one of two things that happened in this situation. Because like you said, the man went 11-1. Now, did they have to protect him a little bit? Right? Did he turn the ball over in some inopportune times? Yes, but he's a young quarterback. So there's no great. You better go undefeated. You better be perfect. You better be perfect or you're getting replaced. One of two things happens. One, that staff after the Michigan game told him, "Hey, you may need to get in the portal. We're gonna go get we're gonna go get a transfer quarterback. That's what we're going to go do." Or they said, "Hey, are you willing to compete if we bring in another quarterback?" And he said, "No, I'll just get in the portal." The man got in the portal at 6 a.m.
Well, if it's the second one, when are you not competing?
Yeah,
you don't have to compete, man, especially at a school like that.
Well, true, but I don't want to put all the blame on the coaching staff because I don't know, I wasn't in the room.
Well, he's not the only one with the Buckeyes right now. Julian Fleming.
Fleming left.
Yep. Yeah. Julian Fleming's in the transfer portal right now. He made huge catches the past couple seasons. I get you get overshadowed a little bit with a generational guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. or Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson, but he was a key receiver on that team. Now he's entered the portal. I just wonder if there's something going on with Ryan Day. There have been some reports that he has expressed interest with some NFL teams. That's what I've heard. I don't know. Maybe some of these guys.
I know Ryan Day in that press conference came out and was non-committal about Kyle McCord being the starting quarterback even in the bowl game. He said, we have to look at everything, even with the one loss, what let us down in that game, even that last drive. So all options are open. So I think that is what got to Kyle, even after the performance he did put up this year. Imagine the performance you put up this year, and then you get to a bowl game, and your head coach being, "Well, we're non-committal on our which quarterback we're going to start."
Well, in your first year starting, you go 11-1, and you put up those numbers. I know, again, you talk about the supporting cast. I just think Ohio State's just searching right now. I think they're in kind of they're in a space they haven't been. I mean, losing 3 in a row to Michigan, right? Michigan winning the Big Ten 3 years in a row. These are the dark times for Ohio State. But what an unbelievably high-class problem that your dark times are when you're 11.
A couple other things here. Like when you talk about someone like Brock Vandagriff, who didn't win the starting job at Georgia. It makes sense, right? You entered the transfer portal. That makes sense. Grayson McCall, coming from Coastal Carolina and had some injuries, like that makes a lot of sense. Even to an extent, Tyler Van Dyke at Miami, you gave it a try a couple seasons. It's, it hasn't been great. Like maybe a fresh start is what's necessary. Or Will Rogers. Almost broke the SEC passing record.
KJ Jefferson's been at Arkansas forever. You paid your dues
But
there.
there's a couple where I look at something like Dylan Gabriel, where you came from USC, you're going to Oklahoma, you have an unbelievable year. I understand the offensive coordinator left, but you're just going to jump ship immediately to where? A lot of these guys are just going to be switching.
Mississippi State. Right now leading for them is Mississippi State. He's following Levy.
Yeah, well, the two that surprised me the most are two that may end up following their coaches. Dylan Gabriel going to Mississippi, or looking at Mississippi State with Jeff Lebby, and then DJU. I mean, obviously Jonathan Smith goes to Michigan State. Does DJU end up at Michigan State? The
backup left too, right? Because Aiden Childs is the leader on some lists as the best quarterback in the transfer portal. A lot of people have. Obviously, that would just be based off potential because we haven't seen a large sample.
Yeah, it's again, you're always going to have some surprise. I mean, Will Howard, right? Will Howard is in the transfer portal from Kansas State. I was interested to see Max go to North Carolina. That fit was interesting to me. You know, he was at LSU, then he goes to A&M, then he goes to North Carolina. But we're going to keep tracking it. It's just, I am fascinated to see the strategies of some coaches once they get 3 years in. I know what you're going to do the first couple years, as I've said. You know, whether you're Hugh Freeze at Auburn or now Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State or Mike Elko at A&M, you're going to have to lean on the transfer portal to give that beacon of hope to the fan base and be able to compete early with the arms race that college football is now. What I'm interested in is year 3, when you've got the high school guys that are developed. How do you, number one, spend your NIL money, and how do you, number 2, structure your roster? Are you going to try and be 50-50? As much as that's possible? Or are you going to be heavy in high school and plug the holes in the boat like what I would do with the transfer portal, or lean heavily on the transfer portal, almost go the college basketball route and just, you know, redo the roster? Because don't forget, the NCAA changed the rule from you can only sign 25 scholarship players per class, regardless whether that be transfer, whether that be high school, to you got 85 scholarships.
Fill them how you
want to, and they had to.
Yeah.
With the amount of players that were getting in the portal, you had to change that rule. So I don't want people to forget that rule. You can bring in 85 new ones. You can totally bring in 85 new ones. We know you're going to be watching all the college football madness. You're going to be watching the NFL. You're going to be watching college basketball. And we know sometimes when you're out with the boys, out with the girls, watching the game, I don't really know if that's a thing in a lot of places, but it's in some places. There's some not so fun mornings when you have to get up to work for the next day. All right? You like to have a couple cold sodas. All right, we all do. That's where Z-Biotics comes in. Science's greatest invention ever of all time. All right, it's a pre-alcohol probiotic. Here's what it is. You take this before you drink. All right, you drink this before you drink alcohol. And we want you to drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep. But if you drink Z-Biotics before you go out and drink alcohol, it's basically magic. I don't know another way to put it. Let's just say you're not going to feel as bad. Y'all know what I'm talking about the next day. All right, Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break down the byproduct, all right, that gives you that bad feeling. Because it's that byproduct, not dehydration. I was wrong. I thought it was caused from dehydration. But guess what? Z-Biotics, it's the ultimate source of making you feel better the next day after having a really good time the night before. Just remember to drink it before you drink alcohol and drink responsibly. Again, we've used it every time. Go over to Cones, right? If we may, you know, sip a little bit of the
cold soda,
the cold sodas, maybe some brown water. Drink that. That stuff is absolutely magic. So go to zbiotics.com/booster. That's zbiotics.com/booster to get 15% off your first order with code booster at checkout. It's backed by a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, which you won't be, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. zbiotics.com/booster. Use that code booster at checkout for 15% off your first order. And go buy one of our hoodies.
Yes,
we're going to put the link in the chat. Hit that like button, right? Make sure you're subscribed and go get one of those hoodies. You want to support the show? That's one of the best ways to do it. We really appreciate it. Rock that thing. Send us a pic, right? We want to see how you're living your life. All right, we enjoy things like that. But speaking about enjoying things, I enjoy the Booster Club.
Chat!
Yep, and also, phone lines are opening up. 10 minutes, boys. Get them hot.
All right, let's go, chat. Let's go. Let's have a big day today. Big day for the fam. Pineapple Express. God, one of my favorite movies.
Great movie.
Nobody bats an eye when a coach leaves for a better opportunity, but a minute a player does, it's a bad thing for the sport.
No.
I disagree.
No. I disagree. We're past that point of, oh, coaches can do this, but players can't. Hell, players can get paid NIL and then leave. Like, the players got the best deal out of all of it. Nobody's saying that players should be held in lockdown or at Guantanamo or in Azkaban. What we're saying is there needs to be some rules put in the transfer portal. You get your one free year to transfer. In my opinion, I think that's perfect. In my opinion, my belief is the in-conference transferring needs to be limited outside of, hey, your head coach is gone, then you can go. I'm fine with that. If you have transferred once and the head coach leaves, I feel like you should be granted another transfer. I'm fine with that. I'm not saying it needs to be locked down, right? I'm not saying it needs to be like prison break to get out of there. What I'm saying is there at least needs to be a couple rules, right?
Right.
I mean, or we're just, everybody's just going to leave every single year.
Yeah.
It's an impossibility.
It's completely new then. Like, what good does that do for the sport? I don't understand. Like, what professional league would you ever see that in?
You wouldn't. It's the reason the NFL doesn't do it. Like, it's madness. So it's not, the woe is me stuff for the players got to stop. Like, wanted part of the business, you're in the business, you're getting paid now. The woe is me stuff for the players got to stop.
Something they need to keep in mind is that's 11% of college football players in the portal now. No one talks about the percentage that will not re-sign with the team.
Yeah.
No one will take them now. You had an opportunity at a school, you left, you're not going to get picked up.
All right, let's go to Keats. What's up, brother? He says the portal is keeping teams from stacking talent. It's good for parity, but there needs to be a salary cap established.
If we talk about salary cap, if you're talking about like a deal, like where you can cap a deal, an NIL deal, whether that be from a collective, whether that be from just one source that's Dr. Pepper, whatever, I'm fine with that. My only problem is, from a capitalistic standpoint, when do you say when? Do you say it's the value of a scholarship, or is it? I don't know. I would have to see the fine print on that. I understand what you're saying, but you're never going to be on an even playing field when it comes to NIL, right? Boise State is never going to have the same amount of money that Texas A&M is to be able to spend on recruiting, whether that be from the transfer portal or high school.
I was going to Virtue 44 with a $5 donation. Thank you. We're missing a third leg of NIL money, and that is retaining the players that you have.
Yeah.
Illinois uses 80 to 90% of their total NIL money on retention.
Yeah, well, again, that's why if it was me and I was doing any NIL deal, right, and you have to have some cachet to be able to do this. Somebody's got to kind of break the dam on this. Somebody may already have, and I haven't seen it, but I haven't heard about it, is that if you're going to do an NIL deal with me, if let's just say I'm Tennessee, and I'm signing you out of high school or I'm signing you out of a transfer portal and you have multiple years of eligibility, if you're going to get this NIL money, you're going to sign that contract that says I will be here at least 2 years. Or I will be here at least a certain amount of time. And if you decide that you want to leave before that, then you have to repay the NIL money that was given to you. I don't think that's a crazy thing to ask, right? I'm shocked we haven't heard more about situations like that. And I know you can't do that if every place can't do that yet because you're trying to attract players in. But once you get rolling, like I think this is something that we're going to see. That's what I would do.
Or a situation like right now with Caleb Williams opting out of the bowl game.
Yeah.
USC.
Now, well, apparently they wouldn't give him partial ownership of the bowl game.
Yeah, the bowl didn't give him partial ownership. That's tough.
Yeah.
I know.
God,
and it may be not that big of a deal to some people because they're 7-5, but that's USC's opportunity to get to an 8th win to win a bowl game. You paid him a lot of NIL money to come to USC. Shouldn't he have to play in the games that you're eligible to play?
Well, if it's attached to the contract, yes. I will say though, I'm not as big on. I understand why I understand why he's not playing the bowl game. But like, if it was me, if that was my son, I would tell him not to play in the bowl game.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why you got to have a contract that
agree.
says we've already paid you. I don't care who else.
I'm with you on
that.
that.
The NFL can pay you next year. We already paid you.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. It's not a serious sport. It's broken, man. It's broken. We have to get some leadership in here to fix these things that really shouldn't be that difficult to at least put guardrails on.
It's just weird to think about negotiating with your players about like the contract of like them playing. It's just in college football.
Yeah,
that's where we're at now. That's where we're at now. Hey, YouTube, thanks for checking us out. Hope you love Lady Ballers. Apparently you did. It's one of the top streaming movies in the country right now. It's got 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and was the biggest Daily Wire launch ever. We really appreciate you guys. And we have the best sports show on the planet too. So make sure you subscribe to check out all of our content as we head into a great time of year, especially in football.